Oh man, I've got porridge all over me. What? We've started? Hi, I'm the author, Alexander Gordon Smith, and welcome to episode 2 of my vlog, virtually Loads of Gordy. Can we not have a slightly more horror-based jingle? You know, I write horror books. That didn't seem very scary. Can we do something maybe with explosions? So I just want to start by saying a huge thanks to everyone who watched my first vlog. I know it was a pretty amateur effort, as this one will probably be, but I appreciate you watching it, and I really appreciate everyone who commented on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitter and on all those other things out there on the interwebs. Really appreciate your support. I'm glad so many of you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And a few of you said you'd be up for seeing another one, so here I am, back again. Yeah, so what are we going to talk about this time? So quite a few of you asked some questions last time round, and I'm going to answer them in a bit. But first, I want to talk a bit about research. You know, one of the questions I get asked a lot again is writing fun? And writing has to be the most fun job in the world. It's the only job I can think of where you don't actually do any work. I mean, my working day goes a bit like this. I get up in the morning, I do a few hours of writing, and in the afternoon I read books, I watch films, and I play video games, and I get paid to do it. It's part of my job, you know, because as writers what we're often trying to do is find ideas, find inspiration, find atmospheres and characters, and we do that by reading a lot, by watching a lot of films and playing a lot of video games. It is really an excuse just to spend your days playing video games. But anyway, it's part of the job, you get paid to do it. So yeah, writing is great fun. The other reason that writing is fun is because it gives you the perfect excuse to turn your own life into the biggest adventure you could ever hope to make it. Because writing's about kind of going out into the world and finding stories. It's about going out and researching the places that you're writing about. It's about going out and meeting people, building things, doing things, travelling, exploring, turning your life into this great big adventure, and then bringing those experiences back into your story. It's about making as kind of many experiences as you can, having as many experiences as you can. So just have fun with it, you know, go out into the world, explore, live your life as adventurously as you can. Adventurously? So yeah, it's about just going out there and having fun, I think. So before we get started with the questions and answers today, I just want to go out to our reporter in the field, the incredibly handsome and debonair Alexander Gordon Smith. Hey guys! So yeah, now I was thinking that my next book might be a fantasy book. I've got a sudden love for all things fantasy, and I thought I'd come on a research trip. So here we are today at one of the most famous castles in the world, the Tower of London. And yeah, so I'm not quite sure what's going to be in my book, but I know there's going to be torture, murder, intrigue, bad guys, dungeons, and so yeah, let's go and find some of those things. Traitor's Gate, a polar bear, the king's bed, comfy. Do you think they mind if I sit? Giant cannon. That's the famous White Tower, nearly 1,000 years old. Old-timey toilet. Nice tights. A dragon. Off with his head. The bloody tower. Torture. Ravens. These awesome guys. This scone. So there we go, Tower of London. Really good place to do some research for a fantasy book. Saw some cool stuff, and yeah, recommend it to anyone. And if you're ever doing a writing piece and you want to kind of get closer to your subject, do some research. Go and visit the place. Really good thing to do. So now we're done. Pizza. Thank you very much, Alexander Gordon Smith. So yeah, if you're writing about a certain place, or if you're setting your book somewhere and you can visit it, then go and visit it. Obviously be safe, take someone with you, be sensible, but if you can visit a location, it really gives you a sense of the atmosphere, the sense of a place. That's so important, not just what a place looks like. I mean, anyone can use Google Maps, and Google Maps are amazing, but you can't immerse yourself in a location. Atmosphere is so much more than just what a place looks like. It's about what it smells like, it's about the temperature in the air, it's about what you can feel under your feet and what you can feel on the walls, what you can kind of taste and the air, what you can hear. Did I say that one? I can't remember. But anyway, it's about all of those things kind of built into your story. And if you can visit a place, you really get a sense of that. When we went to visit the Tower of London, it was an incredible experience. You go down into the kind of dank cellars. The air tastes different down there. It's colder. Up on the parapets, you can feel the wind in your hair. You can kind of, the views up there, you can't really get that sense of a place from something like Google Maps or from anywhere on the internet. So try and visit a place. Obviously you can't visit anywhere. You can't visit Mars if you're writing a story based on Mars. Well, you could, I suppose. I mean, they are sending people to Mars. But it seems like a long way to go for research. And I should say thank you to my lovely daughter Lucy for doing the sterling camera work in that video, and for putting up with all the tourists looking at us strangely. I even got myself a souvenir. It's really hard to see out of this thing. So yeah, some questions. I did get quite a few questions from you guys, so I'm going to try and get through them as quickly but as comprehensively as possible. First up, Alma, you asked... I forgot what you asked. I'm going to check my laptop. Alma, you asked, was Lockdown originally going to be a series? You know, when I first came up with the idea for the Lockdown series, for the Escape from Furnace series, I kind of, you know, I just had, all I had was the idea of somebody being sent to the world's worst prison. That's the only thing that I had in my head. And I kind of sat down and started writing it. Now, all writers are different, and there's no right way or wrong way to write a book. Some writers plan everything down to what happens in every chapter. Some writers just throw themselves in and see where it takes them. Both kind of ways have their pros and cons, but I much prefer the second way. I like to throw myself into the story and see what happens. So I was with Alex Sawyer in Furnace. We were kind of pretty much the same person. We were certainly kind of the best of friends. So we were both down there in Furnace, and I threw myself into that story. Didn't know how he was going to escape, if he was going to escape, what he was going to find down there. I think writing a story like that makes it more real in the writer's head. If it makes it more real in the writer's head, it makes it feel hopefully more genuine in the reader's head. I thought to myself, you know, if Alex knows how in advance that he's going to get out of Furnace, or how he's going to get out of Furnace, or who lives through the story, or who dies, or who's, you know, who survives, if he knows that, then he's going to feel a bit more relaxed about it. You know, as a character in my head, he's going to feel a bit like, you know, well, I don't really have to try too hard, because the boss, the author, he's going to get me out of this situation. You do all the hard work. So yeah, I thought that if I didn't know what was going to happen, then he wouldn't know what was going to happen, and we both feel as panicked as each other. And it really worked, because when I was writing the book, and I was trying to write the book as fast as I could, because I had to know what was going to happen. So when I was writing the book, you know, I was desperate to think of a way out. You know, I was down there in that prison. I only knew things when Alex knew them. I didn't know anything in advance, so I was fighting the same fights that he was. I didn't know if I was going to survive, if he was going to survive. I was desperately trying to work out how to escape from the prison. I didn't work out, you know, the escape plan in Furnace, and I won't tell you what it is or if it works, just in case you haven't read the book. But you know, I didn't know what that escape plan was going to be until Alex did, and we both had that moment of eureka at the same time. So I think it makes it a much more enjoyable experience as a writer, because you really are immersed in the story. You're in there, you're in that story, you're forced to make split-second decisions. And I always find, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes you kind of write yourself into a corner. But I always think, if something happens that you don't like, something terrible happens, and there are terrible things in Furnace and The Fury, don't go back and change it just because you can. I always think you can't go back in time in life and change something, bring someone back from the dead, or, you know, change a disaster. So you shouldn't be allowed to do it in a story. I don't know, that's what I think. But anyway, so yeah, it was a really good experience. I didn't know it was going to be a series. It just ended up being a 5-book series. It was the way the book kind of wrote itself. Alma, you also asked, is doing nothing the same as doing something? Which is a really interesting question, very interesting moral question. And there's a famous quote, which I can't remember who said, definitely wasn't me, who said, all evil needs to succeed is for good people to do nothing. And yes, if you make a choice to do nothing, then there is still a choice. You're still doing something. You're absolutely right in what you said in your comment, that doing nothing is the same as doing something. You're just choosing to do nothing. That's really confusing. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. If Alex in Furnace, or if the characters in The Fury made a decision not to try and escape, not to try and do the right thing, not to try and help people, that's still a decision. That's still doing something. It's just doing the wrong thing. And so yeah, really interesting point, and I'm glad you picked up on that in the books. And RJT Misty, I've probably pronounced that wrong. Thank you for your question. There's no plans yet for The Fury to be a film. It would be amazing, I think. Again, it would be another kind of big budget. You'd need quite a few special effects in there. But I still think it would be a really cool film. Very dark, quite scary, but really, really good fun. You also asked how I did the amazing special effects. I was going to do something here with special effects, but I can't be bothered. I use a program called Adobe After Effects, which you can do anything with. It's amazing. I think you can get a 30-day free trial. Download it, have a go. Really good fun. And Millie, you sent a question by email. Is there ever going to be a Furnace video game? That would be amazing. It would be the coolest thing ever, apart from a movie. Or maybe even cooler, I don't know. But anyway, it would be so cool to have a Furnace video game. I have kind of daydreams about, I'm in a huge game, I love playing games. I have daydreams about a Furnace video game, you know, this big open plan game. There's obviously going to be a really good story mode where you've got to try and work your way out of prison and survive inside the prison. But there's also going to be like a multiplayer mode where you can pick to be a prisoner, or, you know, a black suit, or a Weezer, or a berserker, and each one's got different strengths and weaknesses. And you have all these kind of open level, sort of open platform levels where, you know, you can just kind of have this great big melee fights and gun fights and punch-ups. I think it would be so, so cool. Sadly, there is no news yet of a Furnace video game. I think what might happen is, you know, if there's ever a movie, the video game would follow. That's usually what happens. You get the movie, then the video game follows. So we might have to wait until the movie comes out, which might take, I don't know, 600 years. But hopefully it will happen one day. There is, if you're interested in Flash games, there is quite a cool sort of platform game for Furnace on my Escape from Furnace, the British webpage for the books. It's escapefromfurnace.com. escapefromfurnace.com. So you can always go there and have a go. It's, well, everyone thinks it's really easy, but I seem to find it really hard. In fact, it's quite embarrassing. Why won't you move? Why won't you move? Why won't you move? Jump! Jump! No, backwards. Backwards. No, no, no. Why won't you go up the stairs? No, no, no! Yeah, I think I must have been playing a different game to everyone else. There's also a Polish one somewhere, if you can find it. I think there's a link to it from my website. Again, it's just embarrassing how bad I am at these things. So yeah, Furnace video game. Keep your fingers crossed. It could happen, you never know. And Randy, you mentioned the Arabic version of Furnace. Yes, there is an Arabic version of Furnace, which looks amazing. It is out now, I think. I don't have any copies. I haven't been sent any copies yet. Hopefully there'll be some on the way. It came out at the beginning of May. So yeah, you can order it from Amazon and a few other places. But yeah, I'd love to see a copy. If anyone's got a copy already, then put it on Facebook or post a link here. I'd love to see a copy for real. It looks like an amazing edition of the book. And yeah, I hope you guys really enjoy it when you get a chance to read it. Probably the most common question I got was, what's wrong with your voice? Thanks, guys. I'm not sure if you meant my voice, which obviously sounds like 10 octaves higher
on video than it does in real life. In real life, I speak like Darth Vader, but something seems to happen when I go in front of the camera.
It's quite embarrassing. Or I'm not sure if you meant the accent. This is something that happens quite often. I do a lot of Skype talks to America, and you know, as it starts, I can see everyone going, oh, look, there's Alexander Gordon Smith, and then I go, hi, I'm Alexander Gordon Smith, and they go, that's not American. Is that Australian? It's not Australian, it's not American, it's British. I am British, this is my accent. Sorry about that, you do get used to it. And Daniel from Ohio, you sent me an email asking, what is the most frightened you've ever been in your life? That's a really good question. I think the most frightened I've ever been in my life is when I was a bit younger. In fact, I was about 11. When I was about 11, that was when I decided I was going to be a horror writer. That's when I decided, you know, I wanted to write scary books for for a living. But I didn't want to be the kind of author that just came up with ideas and wrote them down. I wanted to be the kind of author that went out into the world, found real ghosts, real monsters. I was 11, I totally believed in those things. In Norwich, where I live, quite close to where I lived when I was 11, which is quite close to where I live now, I haven't gone very far, there was a house. This great big kind of haunted house. Now, it wasn't like a mansion, or I remember it being a mansion, but it wasn't quite a mansion. But it was a big country home. It had been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember. We all told stories about how someone had been murdered in this house, or how witches used to live in this house. So I thought this was the perfect place to find a ghost and write the scariest story ever written. So I did a very silly thing. I decided that I was going to spend a night inside this haunted house. Now, I didn't want to do this by myself, so I managed to convince my best friend to come along with me. I don't want to use his real name, so I'm just going to call him Nigel. Oh wait, that was his real name. Anyway, Nigel and I decided we were going to spend a night inside this haunted house. And we did a very silly thing, very stupid thing. I told my mum I was staying at Nigel's house, Nigel told his mum he was staying at my house, and we met down the road from my place. We had our bikes, we had one flashlight, one torch with us, and we decided, we were just going to cycle out to this house and see what happened. So we cycled out. It was about kind of 10-20 minute cycle ride out into the countryside, cycled out on our bikes, climbed over the fence. Now the gardens were all overgrown, it was all after dark, so it was quite scary already. We were hacking our way through these gardens. All the windows had been boarded over because no one had lived in this house for kind of decades. We found a window that the board had come loose, we pulled the board off, we climbed into that house. There was nothing in there but rot and rats. You could hear the rats running around in the walls. You could smell them. It was a horrible, kind of claustrophobic, smelly place. And I was scared, but I thought, this is my job now. I am a horror writer. I've got to find a ghost and write the scariest story ever written. So we started to walk through this house, and after a little while, I'll never forget this, we started to hear a noise. And it was literally just going like this. It was coming out of the walls, and it was just going... And I thought to myself, that sounds like a clock. Like one of those great big old-fashioned grandfather clocks with the pendulums. And I was thinking, how can there be a clock in this house? Nobody's lived here for decades. Who's going to be here to wind up a clock? And I was scared, but I carried on. We found what must have been the dining room or a ballroom, a huge, great big room. Walked in and we thought, we'll just spend the rest of the night in here. We don't have to do anything else. After a couple of minutes, we started to hear the same noise again. And but it doubled up, and it was going... And I freaked. I thought, this house has a pulse. This house has a heartbeat. This house is coming to life around us. This house is going to eat us. And I screamed and I ran out of the room. Now, as soon as I'd run out of the room, I heard Nigel shrieking behind me. This is the sound of somebody who's been eaten alive. And I was running down the corridor of this house thinking, they've got Nigel, they've got Nigel. And I was shouting back, you can have Nigel, you can have Nigel, just let me go, let me go. Great friend I am. Couldn't find my way out of this house, it was so big and we weren't paying attention. We eventually found a window. I threw myself out the window. I was running through the garden. To my eternal shame, I didn't even know this was physically possible until I was 11 years old. I was so scared that as I was running, I was throwing up. Just, running through the garden going, blah, blah. Macaroni cheese all over me. Eventually, I reached the fence, threw myself over the fence. There was a road, there was a bit of light. Never been so relieved in all my life. After a few minutes, I heard Nigel screaming his way through the garden. He hadn't been eaten alive. In fact, what had happened is that Nigel had started screaming inside the house because I'd just run off and left him in the dark because I was holding the flashlight. Anyway, Nigel got to the fence, threw himself over the fence, and for a little while we just stood there by the side of the road, crying. And I was so disappointed. In fact, I looked at my watch, when we'd calmed down a bit, and I realised that we'd been inside that house for a full 7 minutes. That was as long as it had taken for us to completely lose our cool. And I was doubly disappointed because Nigel hadn't thrown up. So not only was I not brave enough to spend more than 7 minutes in a haunted house, I wasn't even as brave as Nigel. And I honestly thought that for about 5 minutes until we started walking home, and Nigel confessed that he'd been so scared that he'd peed himself. So I was fractionally braver than Nigel. Yay! Not a good experience. But that experience was interesting in a few ways because it really taught me what writing was. Writing wasn't, for me anyway, about sitting down and writing a story about a haunted house. Writing was about going out there, finding a haunted house, spending some time there, getting that sense of terror, absolute puke-inducing terror, and then writing a story based on those experiences. It really kind of paved the way for the way that I write stories now. So really, really, really interesting experience. And I'm sorry, Nigel, that I have shared that with everyone. So that's probably all the time we've got for questions, but if you have any more questions then please just leave them in the comments, leave them on Facebook, email me, however you want to get in touch, just let me know and I will answer more questions in the next episode of this vlog. But before we finish, I'd like to have a competition. We didn't have a competition last time, but it would be good to get into the habit of giving things away every week or every time I do one of these vlogs, which probably won't be every week actually. Forget I said that. And I do have the perfect prize to give away this time round. I've just received copies of the UK edition of The Fury and the Storm Combined Edition. If you don't understand what that means, you obviously didn't watch the last vlog where I explained the saga behind The Fury and the Storm. But all you need to know is that this is the definitive edition of The Fury. This is exactly the same edition as the United States edition. Both books are exactly the same now. So this has The Fury and the Storm all in one massive book. This is the UK edition, so some of the spellings will be different. There are no moms in there are mums. So yeah, in order to win a copy of this, all you have to do is leave a comment below. And I will go through those comments and I will pick a winner at random next time I do a vlog and announce the winners there. So all you need to do is leave a comment on YouTube, not Facebook, on YouTube, under this vlog, and I will give away not one but 3 copies of The Fury. So this doesn't actually come out until July in the States and August in the UK. I think it's August in the UK. So you will get to read this before anyone else. So yeah, leave a comment and good luck. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Virtually Loads of Gordy. I will be back maybe in a couple of weeks probably to answer some more questions and hopefully with some more news and who knows what else. It's all a big mystery. But thank you very much for tuning in and yeah, thanks for being fans. See you soon. No, I demand a new jingle. Welcome back to episode 2 of... Welcome back? You haven't even been here yet. Oh no, here we go again. Porridge. But if you do have any more... Oh, I've done this bit already. We didn't have a... Guys, it'll help.